Hi again, everyone, and thanks for joining both Alberto and I today as we continue our contemplative journey for peace, looking back on the walk that we did, the pilgrimage that we did 25 years ago from Rome to Jerusalem. And we ended our last episode, which we called Relating, speaking about some of the internal fears, the internal struggles that were taking place within me personally, and also within Alberto as we were beginning our steps, leaving the world of the known, if you will, and walking into onto a path that we weren't quite sure, although it was physically leading us to Jerusalem, not quite sure exactly where this path was leading us. And that episode dealt a great deal with this idea of being in a kind of a no man's land, in between an identity that you want to hold on to because you're afraid if you let it go, you don't know what you have to hold on to, and a new identity, a new path that's emerging before you that you can't quite get a full handle on, that you really feel is the right way, that you want to embrace fully, and yet there's the fear of abandoning what you know to take on something that you don't fully yet understand. And all this was taking place for me really in my first days of walking alone from Rome, from Vatican City, as I made my way towards the town of Rieti. And when I arrived in Rieti, and it wasn't didn't take me very long, and I went slowly. I was taking plenty of time to rest because I could see how the extra weight that I was carrying, because it was a big backpack with camping equipment, was taking its toll on my body, in addition to walking on the side of the road, which is something that I was learning to how to do in a way that was safe without sidewalks, really. So it was a whole new way of walking, plus the extra weight. I was feeling it in my knees, I was feeling it in my shins, I was feeling it in my ankles. My joints all seemed to be aching. And so I was, building up the strength, building up the way of being able to walk. And so I was taking extra rest days. And so I made it to Rieti, where I received the message, the email essentially from Alberto, letting me know that everything was moving very quickly and he was arriving. And literally from the day he sent the message to the next day, and I think it was around December 1, December 2, around that time,
Yeah.
that you arrived in Rieti. I had booked a hotel room. I had found a room. I booked the hotel after my day's walk, and I was just simply waiting for the next step. And I was surprised that you actually came that very same day that I arrived in Rieti as well. And you came by train. Is that right? You had left Bonn and you had come down by a couple of different trains that eventually brought you after a full night. Was you left at night? Is that right? And then ended
Yeah.
up arriving,
Yeah.
arriving to
It,
see
it
me.
was it was many. Hola, everybody. Here we are again. It was a few hours. I was looking before the route that maybe I took at that time. We are talking about 2001. Then things had changed, but I think it should have been like 16 or 18 hours or something like that. It's, in traditional trains, no. Eh, and yeah, I had leave everything. I think Hannah came to me to the train station in Bonn, and we had a heartful, dramatic goodbye. And I take my things, my backpack, ready for walking with my heavy backpack and all that, with a tent that we there was that tent was a gift of people that we met in Germany when we were looking for a cheap tent that I could bring with me in this journey to have a place to sleep if I couldn't find a hotel or accommodations.
Because that was my plan as well. I carried a
You,
tent.
you had a tent
I
too
had a
with you.
tent for that same purpose, thinking in case I couldn't find a place to sleep either, I would be able to camp. In fact, my very first night leaving Vatican City, I camped the first night.
And I think you should tell that story because it was very magical, and a couple of stories more that is
Yeah.
in that walk that you did from Rome to Rieti. But the thing is that you were carrying in your heavy backpack had the tent, had kitchen supplies for cooking supplies, camping supplies,
Camping supplies.
and many heavy things that usually in a pilgrimage like the one that we did to Santiago you don't need because you have in the albergues you had all that things that you can use there. Then you don't need to bring all that heavy things. But in our journey that we were going to be for months walking and in different seasons too, we needed extra layers of clothes too, and at the same time we needed for the nights that we couldn't find accommodations for sleeping. Then, the point is that I was in the train station, with my heavy backpack, ready to start to walk, and I went directly to the route that I found, thanks to Hannah, that could bring me to Rieti the faster and the easiest way. But I remember that there was a few trains I needed to change trains, and more than one. In the way there, in the way to Rieti. And there is a funny anecdote but it's not funny when you look from the eyes of the spirit. That is, we are trying to do this in these conversations to see what happened at that time, but with the vision of the Holy Spirit, how the Course call it, or God, or the vision of our angels, no? This higher vision or inner master. And at that time, I knew that something magical had happened too. And that was a thing that gave me more strength and more faith when I understood what had happened, that helped me to be confident for the future, that we are always, we always had what we need. And if we need something and we need help, we are going to receive it. And I am talking with you now about this and seeing an angel there. A little figure of an angel that we had here, a decorative figure that we had here in Hong, is looking at me and like saying with the head, yes. That is, it's like we had angels, we had beings of light around us all the time, or the Holy Spirit, how you want to call it, helping us.
Well, even finding a tent. I mean, that was something that was as a gift, as part of your journey, your preparations, which you didn't expect.
Exactly. That I was going to tell that before and I forgot. But the finding the tent was like a gift of the universe, I would have said at that time, a gift of the Spirit. And it was because we were looking second-hand tents because I didn't need anything else. And I had little money, I had savings of my time working in Germany, but there was not savings enough for this kind of journey. Then I was looking at second-hand tent in the newspapers, in the back of the newspapers, and we found somebody, a young couple that had a tent, almost new, that they didn't need anymore, and they were advertising in the newspapers in the second-hand things. And then I went with Hannah to see this couple, and when they asked us for what I was going to do with the tent, and I told them that we wanted to do a journey for peace from Rome to Jerusalem, they insisted in that I take it like a gift, like a contribution to the peace that we were trying to bring, no? And we were going to work for. And then that was beautiful. And many things came in that way, before the journey and along the journey, how you know, no? But are these things that when you need something and it's helpful, it comes to you. But at the same time, it's bringing you the awareness that you are not doing this alone. And that there are strong forces, powerful forces there that are helping you to what you really need to do, with your real purpose here. Yeah? And then in this journey from the train station in Bonn to the train station in Rieti, happened a funny thing that while it was happening made me sweat a lot. because it was not a happy thing in that moment. And is that how there was 3 or 4 changes that I needed to do transfers in the train. In one of them, I went down in I think was a stop earlier. I stopped earlier, and I realized when I was down of the train, but it was in the middle of the la madrugada,
Early morning.
early morning. Then there was nobody in beside the rails of the train where I stopped, and I realized, oh, this was not the stop, and the train had gone already. And now what I do, because there was nobody. But then, before I didn't see him, but then I saw him. It's like he appeared from nowhere. A gentleman, very well dressed. I think he was like in his 50s or no sé, or 60s maximum, but very well dressed with a jacket, with a suitcase, a briefcase, like with a nice smile. That is I remember. Maybe I am exchanging things with my memory, but he looked like an angel. We could say an angel dressing a suit. He appeared from nowhere. I don't know. There was nobody there, and he appeared, and I saw him. And I said, "Please," I remember my English was very basic at that time, and I didn't speak German. I still was in Germany, and I didn't speak Italian either. But we were still in Germany. But this guy understood what I say. I don't know in which language I talk, and in which language he answered. Yeah. But he understood what I say, and he told me. I asked him for the train that go to Rieti, and he knew. Wow. He knew the place that I was going, because that was another thing. I couldn't read the signs. The signs were in German, and for me it was like Chinese. I didn't see in that place. Didn't say where I was. I came from and where I was going, and the places, the city, nothing. And then this guy knew where I was going, and he told me, that is the train that you need to get. And there was a train that just, I don't know, it was stopped there just to go out or was coming just in that moment. And then was a decision that I needed to make in the moment, because the train was there. And then, thank you, boom, and I went into the train. What happened? I saw that this train, exactly, it was going to Rieti. But when I looked my ticket slowly, once I was sitting in the seat of the train, I looked my ticket and realized that this was not my train. I had
even though it's going to take you to
Rieti,
it is not the specific train
that I had paid,
that you paid
because
for.
I had paid all my travel. Of course. All my travel was paid already. I had the tickets with me, but this was not the train. And then I thought, wow, this is when el revisor, how you call revisor?
Well, I guess the train supervisor. Or the person, the guy who collects the tickets, yeah.
Exactly. Then I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to put me back outside of the train. He is going to put me una multa.
They would have to pay a fine.
A fine, or I don't know what will happen, because maybe the train is to the top. And it's true that the train was becoming full.
Right. That it was, the fear is it was sold out.
They're sold out. I don't know. And then what I did, I remember an anecdote. For this, I say these things came, the same that came this angel in the train station, came this memory in my mind. That one adventure that I had when I was very little that came like a trauma to me. It's what like that, a trauma. You say trauma too in English.
Trauma.
Trauma.
I understand. Yeah, but it's understood.
It was a travel that I did with my brother when we were very little. We were talking maybe 3-4 years old, with our father, that he decided to get a train in close to our city in Cadiz, from one station to another without pay.
Okay.
And he didn't tell us anything of that, but he was with us moving the train up train down for the corridors of the
Oh,
train.
you were walking up and
And down
down the whole time.
with our father, and we didn't understand. And we say, Dad, why you are walking with us? And I think was because in that moment he realized that he had no money with him, or so I don't know what it was, or simply because he wanted to have the experience to say, I didn't pay the ticket of the train. So I don't know what it was.
I beat the system.
I beat the system, but I don't know what it was. But I remember that we didn't know. We arrived to Cadiz when we went to our house, and my mother listened because my father, after he was like
Very
so
proud,
proud, and told to my mother, what did you do with the children? And I remember that in my memory stayed like a big thing. But in this moment that I was going in this train that I had no the ticket and I didn't know what was going to happen, I didn't know that they put me out of the train either.
Kick you out.
Digo, I don't lose anything if I try this. To do the same that my father did at that time. And it's the supervisor can, and I will be honest, I had paid my ticket, I had, and I'm ready to pay a fine if it's necessary, but I had paid my ticket, I was a little upset too with that. I happy, but why this is happening? And then I did that. I did that, and I was for hours until we arrived to Rieti, moving up and down, going to the barroom. The good thing is there was many people in the train, and every time that the supervisor came, and I stopped with somebody to see the tickets. I passed for the side, and I went to the other side, and I don't know, but I was sweating. And finally, I arrived to the train station in Rieti, and just when he was coming to me, and the door of the train opened, and I went down, and I think he even smiled to me.
Let's add that little detail.
That detail. I'm not sure.
Smiled.
Maybe it's the happy end that I put in my in my own story because. But I remember that he was coming just when we arrived. The point is, and you make a funny question before. We were talking about another subject before, and we could now, from the perspective of the course, we could say this was projection. So this I projected with my nerves, my unsettledness.
Your uncertainty, your nervousness about what was happening.
What was happening, that I was traveling and I didn't understand a word that I was seeing, and maybe I projected these situations that I went down before in the station, that I got in the train, and why these things happen. I think these things come from our own the projection of our own fears or our uncertainties, anxiety. These things come. But what is clear is that even in that circumstance that we project,
from fear,
or from we don't know better, and in that moment you're feeling a little, and even in that situations, always you receive help. If you try to calm yourself, if you try to listen, if you try to remember that with you is coming something bigger than you, that he had put you in that road. I knew that I told to God many times, you had put me here. You need to help me, because I am following your
guidance,
and your
your
direction,
voice and your direction.
Your voice. And then I realized that for one part, everything, Holy Spirit, God, or angels, calling wherever you want or you feel more comfortable with it, always are there to help you, and they always use everything, every circumstance, to bring you to your path. And then he not only helped me in that circumstance that I was living, that came probably from my own fear and my own uncertainty that I projected. He was not only helping me to survive or to overcome the situations, he gave me a lot of faith with them. Because when I saw how this guy that was there was nobody, and appeared this guy in the middle, and he gave me the solution. That is, I would have not get that train. I don't know what will happen. I don't know what was the next train that will pass in that direction at that time of the night, and I would have need to stay in that city to get to sleep, to be honest. I don't know what the easy thing happened.
Right.
I could see how he managed. That is the script, no? There is a script, they say, of the Holy Spirit when you put in his hands, in the hands of the Holy Spirit, in the hands of your angels, in the hands of God. There is a script that go developing. And maybe the things change in the script when you make a wrong decision or you don't hear well. But it's like a GPS that
Yes.
is, it doesn't matter that you get a wrong turn, is there to tell you, okay, now to the left and now to the right, and continue independently of the route that you get, is always pointing to the final destination, to the solution, to the benefit of you and everybody else. And that is the script. It doesn't need to be fixed in places and times. It's go developing, but always in the important, in the direction, in the route that is bringing you, independently that you make wrong turns.
Yeah.
And that was I think an important thing that give me faith for the future, because really I asked to God when you remember the anecdote that I tell you with the alien, no, and
Yeah.
in Bone, and this vision that I have. Digo, is I do this is a very big thing. I don't know how I'm going to do. I have not enough money. I don't know, but he told me very clear, I will help you. I will do. So you don't worry. You only follow, and I will take care of everything that you need. And then he was proving me in these situations.
Showing you.
He was showing me that he really was there with me,
Yeah.
and everything that I will need, he will give me, and everything that I will need to know, he will tell me in the moment that I need it. And that these these small things that happen at the beginning, these circumstances that I tell you, these anecdotes, were proof of that.
Yeah.
And after we are going to talk about another, that is the main one maybe of this podcast that we are talking today, but it's talking again about the same thing, that we are always we are never alone. We are always being guided. We need to listen and to trust, and he take care of everything. And for this, I think that it's good that you tell this story of your camping of that night,
Yeah.
and even the story with this nice guy that when you needed the most, he helped you to recover faith.
Yeah.
That even when look that nobody is listening or paying attention, always there need to arrive the message, or there are people that that connect with that message. Then I don't know. What do you think?
No, I feel maybe that it's this is a good place because it was also a place for me to receive the same message that you were receiving, which is have faith in me because I'm the one who is guiding you. Call it angels, universe. Back then I just called it the universe, or the angels who were walking with me. And everything that had led me to Rome had been a demonstration of that. But, obviously when I started, walking alone, I saw that this was very different situation than being on the Camino. And I wanted to have that faith, and I wanted to to feel that it was with me all the time. And that first day of walking, I remember I was trying to get to the Rome city limits because on the map that I had, it said that there was a campsite at the city limits. And I thought, I need to be confident in camping. I need to have faith that everything is going to work out and I'm going to get what I need. It didn't show anything about a hotel. So in my mind, I wasn't even looking for a hotel because nothing on remember, this is 25 years ago. I had a roadmap. There's no GPS. There's no research. It's like, what does,
with the roadmap
right?
all the time?
Exactly. And so all I saw was that there was a campsite, and I thought, okay, this is perfect. Whatever the distance was, it wasn't a very long distance from the city center. It was around like 10, 15 kilometers, enough for the first day. And I arrive, and yeah, sure enough, I just follow the map, and I get there, and I see that there is a campsite. And I go, perfect. And I go in and I see, it's just a very like big open field kind of thing. And so I go in, I find that there's a small office. I walk in, there's a man behind the counter. In broken language, a little bit of Italian, not really Italian, more Spanish, English, a little bit of French. I asked, if there was a place to sleep. And I remember his face being kind of like looking at me in a very kind of curious, strange way. Like, what is this strange woman doing here?
Yeah. A
And
woman.
yeah,
Además.
and he just kind of, not that he dismissed me, he just said, camp anywhere you want. Go anywhere you want on the grounds. I was like, well, okay, I'm not gonna go too far into like too far in. I'm just gonna sleep. I saw another building. I thought, well, maybe washrooms are there. So I'll just stay kind of close to the main entrance to the office, to the where it looked like there was life, and I'll pick that spot. And that's what I did. And again, I had never pitched my tent alone. When I bought it, I
There was
bought
a
it.
great opportunity to do it.
That's
The
just the
first
other
time.
thing. It's like I gotta learn how to do this, at some point. And so it was my first time actually setting up the tent by myself, because when I bought it, the guy who sold it to me, and I bought it in Germany actually, when I was with you, because I figured I'm gonna need a tent just in case. I got the most lightweight I could find, one person tent, and he kind of said, "Oh, it's very easy to set up. You just go whoop, flip it up, and it lands on its own." I think that's how it was, or no, there were some poles, lightweight poles. You had to put it here and there, and he made it look so easy. It was like magic. This takes no effort whatsoever. Yeah, and also too, camping too was the opportunity to also, as a woman who was walking alone, trust that nothing was going to happen to me.
Yeah.
This was my act of faith. This was my act of saying, I'm not going to let fear be what guides me here. Although I'll be honest, and I was nervous and there was some fear, because from the time I arrived in Rome, and even my friends and family who were emailing me saying, are you crazy? You've got to be careful, not just, crazy for what you're doing, walking to Jerusalem, but, in Rome, there's pickpockets everywhere. I don't know what they were going to pickpocket, but, they're always trying to, you have to be careful. There are thieves. It's not safe. They can stop you anytime at the side of the road. They can, just take you and kidnap you and hold you for ransom. I was getting all kinds of crazy thoughts, fears around, what can happen.
And you must think too that at that time there was no cell phones like now, and there was no WhatsApp, or there's not any kind of to do video conferences to do the pictures in the same in the side. And there was so many things that technology was not like today. Even internet was starting at that moment. That I understand that for the people that is fearful, this can be a circumstance that they don't want to put to the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I needed to face that fear,
Exactly.
obviously, and I needed to put my faith where I was asked to put it, where I was being asked to put it, which is put my faith in my angels and the universe and who was guiding me to go on this pilgrimage in the same way that you are being
Exactly.
asked to do the same thing. And I felt that very strongly. And so I pitched my tent for the night. I set it up the best way that I could. And I went to a building where there would have been washrooms, except that the toilets were no longer there. There were no toilets there.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh,
That you understood the next day, but you will.
I didn't, yeah, I didn't
At
know
that
why there were
moment,
no
no.
toilets there, but okay. It's like, you're just gonna have to hold it in. That's okay. And I had made one small mistake, which is I forgot to carry water and food, because assumed I would be able to find something on my way, and I didn't. And so I didn't have any water, I didn't have any food. And so I said, that's okay. I'm just going to have faith. I'm just going to stay here in my tent. And which is what I did. I had arrived early enough, just before it got dark. It got dark. Some lights came on nearby, and I realized, oh, I'm not far from looked like a soccer field. That was not too far. So I heard, people and playing and stuff. I was like, okay, I'm not as isolated as I thought I was, but there was nobody else in that campsite. I was the only one who was at that campsite that night.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm just going to have faith. I'm just going to trust. And I eventually, just fell asleep on the hard ground. Which, by the way, I was not a camper. I'm a city girl, so I was not accustomed
Yeah.
to sleeping on the compact earth, hard ground. But again, that was also a learning thing for me to also, learn how to sleep on the ground, which I had never really done before.
Yeah, and adding to the story, because for to put more in your skin or in your boots, that day and all this that was passing for your head, and these things that you wanted to overcome, yeah, and this, I remember that you told me too that that was not only the cautions that some people told you, because they told to me the same, and we were talking before that they told us that the same about every city that we went,
Every big city,
every country, be
oh, be
careful, that is
careful.
yeah, but I remember that you told me that that first day that you walked, you were going out of the city and for the sidewalk, no,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there were cars that were going
Yes.
beside you very slowly, and you were, because yeah, and you didn't know what put you a little nervous,
It
no?
made me nervous. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
adding to the fear
Adding
of
to the fear,
a
adding to the
woman alone walking for the road. No?
yeah, because and my memory is kind of I don't know where I wrote it. I don't know if it was in that specific spot or just a day or so later. I passed by an area again on the main open road, leaving Rome, where there were obviously women who
Oh,
were
okay,
there
yeah,
as I guess as prostitutes.
yeah,
They were
yeah.
prostitutes because they were just like they would literally just come from behind the trees and they would come to the side of the road and they were dressed provocatively, which was why I was thinking at first I didn't understand what was happening because I was, I'm walking with my backpack on the side of the road and I see first, these women in the distance and then the cars are slowing down and I'm thinking that and they're slowing down also for me and they're looking, can I give you a ride? Can I take you to the next
And
place?
maybe they were being nice.
And
They
maybe
were
they were
not,
being nice. I don't know,
but
but
the fear do
the
these things
fear,
too.
that's so true.
But the surroundings where you were make you suspect and maybe and
Yeah,
make
it
you a
was when
little.
the women started coming
Yeah,
to the side of the road, dressed the way that they were
yeah.
dressing, and then I saw cars stopping, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, this is obviously an area where
At that
this
time was much more common. Today, I think you don't see that
I
lifestyle,
no,
but
probably not. But that was what kind of added to that fear. It's like, oh, I'm walking through an area here, and the men are stopping, and there's some of the cars actually followed me for a little while. So everything was just kind of adding to that sense of you're not safe,
exactly.
you're not safe. You're in the end you're walking by yourself.
And you're a
You don't
woman.
have You're a woman. You don't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
You don't have any
Nobody
mean. Nobody
know
knows where you are
where
exactly
you are going to sleep.
where you're going to sleep. And I didn't know either because none of this
Exactly.
was planned. We didn't have anything planned ahead. And so that first night of camping and saying, I am going to face this fear and I'm going to trust in all of the forces that are with me, carrying me on this journey. And eventually, I fell asleep in my tent. I woke up. It was covered in dew because this is now, November, and there was a lot of moisture in the air. I was like, oh my God, what do I do with my tent? I had to figure out a way to dry it. I was shaking it everywhere to get all the dewdrops inside and outside. Like, this is a mess. I hope I don't have to camp too often. So, but then the more unusual thing is I woke up pretty early. It was like 7:30, something like this. And I'm packing my things and all of a sudden I see all kinds of men like moving around the campsite. And there was like a lot of noise, a lot of movement, a lot of men just kind of looking at me and I'm looking at them and I don't know what's happening. And I decide, well, okay, let me go into the, oh, maybe there's, let me go again into the
The
building
office, no?
to the building. Maybe, I didn't look around enough to see if there were toilets. I looked everywhere. And what I actually saw, I went into the building and what I saw were the workers removing the sinks, removing what was left of the toilet. Good thing I didn't go in the toilet because there was no water.
Claro.
There was no water. And what one of the workers, I was just saying, I didn't know what was happening. And what he was saying to me is like, oh, we're closing today. This is the last day that this campsite is open. We're removing everything, removing all the toilets and everything, all the fixtures, and closing, turning off all the water. And I just looked at them and I was like, oh, okay. But there was in that moment a wave of a wave of peace, like a wave of relief. I thought, I'm really not alone in this. Every step is being guided here. And as I kind of packed everything up in a really messy way, but I got it into my backpack again, and I was walking back out to the street, I saw that they were starting to board up the gates, board up the area in the front of the campsite to say that it was closed for the season. Had I arrived the day after,
And you,
I would not have found a campsite, and I don't know where I would have slept. And it turned out that as I was walking a little bit further away, further down, there was a hostel or a hotel just further down, but it wasn't on my map, so I would never have known, right? And so there would have been another option for me to look at.
and true that always there are second
Yeah.
opportunities, and second when you don't get maybe the right one that is in the script, another appears. The GPS, the spiritual GPS, start to bring you again where you need. Yeah, interesting. For another part, I think that it was good that you arrived just that day, and that you could see how that last night it was for you, because it make it more magical even.
That's right.
Because if you would have arrived one day before, you wouldn't have noticed
That's right.
that was closing already. So it was in the moment for that you had what you needed, your night there, and at the same time you could see, how synchronistic was that this was open for you just that day. No, it's not you wouldn't have seen like a wink, no, the spirits.
Yeah.
I am with you. Yeah, even everything is prepared for you. It's ready for
That's
you.
exactly it. I'm
Everything is
preparing.
adjusting for you.
That's right. I am preparing everything for you. And all you have to do is walk and trust that I am walking with you. And like you said earlier, everything that you need, you are going to receive. And it happened more than once along that journey. And I'll just tell one very fast anecdote as well, and I'll let you get back to
Sure, sure.
arriving in Rieti. Is on one of those days, well, two things. One night I actually slept in a restaurant in front of a fireplace.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I had arrived to this town, but it was a town that was at the top of a hill. There was nothing there. There was no hostels, there was no accommodations, there was nowhere to sleep. I found a restaurant, and when some people had seen me walking on the road, and they asked me, what I was doing, and I was able to say, I'm just walking and I need a place to sleep. And they said, oh, you can just sleep right here. And they talked to the owner, Roberto, I remember his name, Roberto. And they said to him, she just needs a place to sleep. Just let her sleep here in front of, and they had one of those big, huge walk-in fireplaces, like the old style. And he said, just leave the fire going and just let her sleep. I said, I can just sleep on the ground, since I slept on the ground a couple of days earlier. So
with your sleeping bag and your
with my sleeping
your
bag.
cushion,
That's
you
exactly
had
it. That's all I needed. And so one night I actually, after he closed the restaurant, he, stoked the fire for me, and I just slept on the floor in front of a big fireplace in a really nice Italian restaurant. And, those moments when, so that's kind of, the things that happen to reinforce your confidence, to reinforce your faith, to let you know that you're not walking alone. And then the moments,
people is good.
people
too.
are good. Oh my God, so much goodness that I came across. Ultimately, it's our own fears that get in the way, our own kind of judgments and our own kind of buried, that's it. That's just the buried stuff that, and what you've been told about other people and what the world is like. That's really what gets in the way of being able to follow this
And
path.
sometimes even we project there. No?
And that's what we project. We project those fears. And the one, and this is one story that I do write about in the book, that the story of, it was one day, could have been like day 5, 6 or something like that, walking alone. And I felt like I was trudging, and that I couldn't communicate. No one seemed to care. Cars were honking at me, but not in support. They're honking at me to get off the road because, I'm walking facing traffic. And so, it was just a lot. And I was just feeling kind of the weight of the day, the weight of like, what the heck am I doing?
And I'm sure that the mood didn't help to have that low mood would put things worse of what they were.
Yeah. And I stopped, and I finally, I hadn't arrived yet at my destination. Or I did, yes, I had arrived, and I stopped at whatever it was. It was like a small cafe or a small bar, just to order something to drink and to sit. And I could feel myself just slumping, because I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is like really hard. and an older gentleman. I think his name was Franco. It was Franco. And he spoke some Spanish, which was lovely.
You know that Franco means truthful.
Oh, frank, somebody who is frank,
Frank,
honest,
honest, frank,
yeah, truthful. Yeah, good. Yeah, good one.
La verdad. The truth was talking to you.
Yeah.
You know? Like a messenger of truth.
Yeah.
Could be.
Well, he spoke in Spanish, but to me it was like the greatest gift. It's as if he could speak English because it was with the basic Spanish that I had from the Camino, I could at least communicate some with what I was trying to do.
Italian and Spanish is similar. Then it's you with he could understand to you better than you to him, I'm sure. But
For sure. And so I explained, what I was walking, from Rome to Jerusalem, and I've just started, and I'm not sure what I'm doing, and if I'm going to keep going. And his eyes just welled up with tears, and he was just sitting there, he was like an older gentleman, just a small guy, very kind face, tanned,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit wrinkled, but so gentle, so kind.
Because-
And he was an artist. And I remember that kind of little detail.
Because I imagine that he was a surprise for him because he expected maybe a camper or a hippie, but you didn't have because at that time I didn't arrive yet, but you didn't have the signs in the backpacks that you were
No.
walking for peace.
No, we would buy the paper Enriete
Enriete.
before we would begin our walk.
Then for this guy it was a surprise, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So that maybe you were an adventure or a traveler,
Yeah,
a tracker.
a trekker.
A tracker.
Yeah.
But you were a pilgrim and for peace and going to Jerusalem. That was a huge thing, and then I imagine his tears that came from the surprise and from the huge endeavor that you were
Yeah.
putting there in front of his eyes. No?
Yeah. Well, he was very kind, and as soon as obviously his eyes welled up, my tears welled up, and we were just sitting there staring at each other in this bar, and my tears are kind of starting to flow because of his reaction. And he was so kind. He goes, "Let me buy you, your tea." I think I was having a cup of tea. "Let me buy that for you." No, I'll buy it
must
for
be
you.
hungry. You must
You
be-
must be hungry. You must be thirsty. Let me get something for you. And then in Italian, he was explaining to everybody in the bar what she was doing. It's like, oh, and then there was all of a sudden this feeling of being, you're not so isolated, you're not so alone, you're understood. Even if one person understood you, it was enough. And he just, I remember he pulled out a little handkerchief and he was wiping his eyes with his handkerchief. And he was so cute. And he was saying to me, and he said to me, the world just needs more people like you who care. People who care, people who want to do something. And he goes, it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. He goes, you are doing the right thing. He goes, trust in that. Trust in yourself. Trust in, what's guiding you. Trust, have faith. And it was just like the absolute, it was like when you have a big cut and somebody puts a salve or something on it that makes it feel so good. And that's how he felt. Franco came to kind of give me that reassurance, that confidence, that feeling of you're not walking alone. Trust and don't worry and have faith. And you're not, what you're doing is not, you may think that it is, hopeless or silly and naive, but this is what the world needs more of. People who, who dare to step out and who dare to try to do something that is constructive and positive and hopeful and to build something. And so, yeah, he gave me a great deal of confidence and a great deal of faith to keep going.
And you know what I am thinking now? That this gesture that he became in that moment a voice of God, the voice that comes from God.
Truth.
Yeah, the truth. Talking to you. Still, Franco is still today giving that message to everybody that listen this story or read our books. It's that message that he gave at that time generously and without thinking in the effects that we're going to have in you and in everybody else that after we're going to listen this story, and it's still being shared, it's still touching hearts. Because now you are telling the story, I had seen my tears can too, because that is what we need. We need to trust in this calling from love, from peace, from life. That we all can feel in our hearts. That is the true way. It's the true path. Then thank you, Franco.
I was just about to say the same. I was just about, Franco, thank you. And thank you to my angels for putting him in my path, because he was exactly he was exactly what I needed to keep going. And I kept on going a few more days until I met you in Rieti. And as I say, I arrived and I waited for you to contact me. And it was later in the evening when after you had sent, I'm not sure when you think, maybe you sent the message the day before and then you arrived the very next day. And you had brought with you, I remember this, my phone. And it wasn't a regular phone. It was back then the Nokia Communicator. It was new on the market. I had seen it when I was in Bonn, but they didn't have it or they needed to set it up or something needed to happen, but you brought it with you. I think you brought it with you.
Maybe I don't remember that. Maybe you buy in
I did buy it in Bonn.
Maybe we say that I was going to bring you because they needed some days
Something to prepare it or get it into stock, or there was something with it
I
because
don't
I needed
remember
to
that
get I needed to get a satellite plan because and they didn't have that, and they said you're gonna have to get that on your own. I'm thinking I'm not using this phone for anything except for emergencies, and even then I never really used it. But what I loved about it was that it had a little tiny little keyboard and a screen, like it opened up. It was like a brick that opened up in the middle.
It was a brick and was heavy like a brick.
But that meant I didn't have to write out with like on a piece on a journal. I didn't have to write on a journal. I can just simply type it out on my little keyboard.
I had a memory of you in every place where we stop and we sit to have a coffee or whatever, or in the hotel, or in the churches where we stop after. I remember you sitting there straight, with your back so straight out. I'm writing in your in your little machine.
It was tiny. It was tiny, and you needed to have like really dexterous little fingers to be able to type out whatever. It was good. It was very good, and it was what I carried for for the whole way. But the first thing we had to look at was, because you arrived later in the day, it's like, where are you going to sleep, right? So when you arrived, I just asked the hotel if you could stay in my room
because you had already had a room in this hotel. The only thing that I saw immediately is that there was a more expensive hotel. It was maybe a 4-star hotel or something like that.
I don't remember.
And I was immediately thinking, let's see, because I had not so much. I had savings, but this journey, we don't know how much we are going to spend. And at that time, we were thinking that we were going to spend like 6 months or something. We didn't think that was going to be 13 months, much more time. But already I wanted to minimize the expensive.
And that night, basically, because it was so late in the day, I would have had to not just pay for my room, but pay for your room. So it had been 2 separate rooms, and it was just too expensive in the hotel.
That was in the hotel where you were, I think, was 100 euros, something like that at the time.
We're talking back, in 2001. Even like for back then, it was expensive. But
Italy was expensive too.
Italy was expensive.
In the major places, yeah. Then I remember that the first thing that I thought, no, let's go to find. I don't need this big room or this big place, because they told us that I couldn't sleep in your same room too. Because maybe I put a sleeping bag there. We wanted to be honest, not to go like that hiding. And they told us that no, not even to bring a small bed or nothing was not possible, only to rent another room. Then I decided to go for looking for a pension, something little for that night, and we will figure after. But it was late, and I found 2-3 pensions smaller, but the cheapest that I found was 50 euro.
And that's expensive. And that's for a small pension, for a hostel,
And I slept there. I think was I think this was maybe the prices is not saying exactly the cost, and I don't remember well, but I remember that was the sensation. That was much more that I was thinking in spending. And then the next day when we meet, I was clear. I had done. I had been counting, doing maths. Yes, at the budget. Digo, if I do one room like this every day, I had for 2 months without food, without counting with food. Then or something like that. Digo, I cannot do this. And then is when came. I remember that God said, "I'm going to take care of that. of everything that you need. You go, okay, well, and you immediately offer, okay, well, maybe I can pay for, I can get a double room or something like that. But I was not happy. I didn't see that was the way.
Yeah.
That you were going to pay for these things. I go, no, it's Spirit had put me, or God had put me here, and He's saying that He's going to take care. It must be in another way. And in my mind was already one idea that I had before even all this started, and was the idea to ask for help in churches and monasteries and spiritual centers and city halls, or in places where I could receive help for what we were doing.
Yeah.
So we were in a pilgrimage for peace from Rome to Jerusalem, and maybe we could receive help from spiritual places or places that connect with this same calling.
See, I never had that thought.
You never had that thought, but this thought came to me because in this same Camino de Santiago, in the pilgrimage where we met in Finisterre, but all the walk to Santiago that we walk separate of each other, I had many experience in that month that I was walking. I remember that one of the things that called my attention, and this is funny, this is like the memory that I had in the train about my father when we were and us when we were children, and all these adventures that we had. And in this moment came to my mind this memory that in El Camino de Santiago I had seen a guy, a pilgrim, that he was walking without money. He was walking without money because his intention was to prove that you didn't need money, that you could live from providence, that you could live from God directly, or without any money. He didn't explain so much what was his intention. And what he did in this walk, and many people talk about him, is that he, instead of to go to the albergues,
albergues, which were donativo.
You need to give the donation, and if you don't give the donation, they don't look at you good. Yeah. Even at that time, yeah. He was going directly to churches and asked to the priest of the church or the parroch,
the parish priest,
priest, for a place to sleep, and he had a tent like I have. And he asked too for food, and they give him food. I thought, I don't need for food because I had money for food, especially as I save in the more expensive, that is the room. I don't need, I will say, so I don't need food. I only need a roof, a place to sleep, even a garden, because I had my tent, a place to sleep. Is I can use a washroom, I can use perfect, and this idea came to me, and how I was not going to ask this for Alberto, no, for this traveler happy that wanted to have an adventure. That I was asking this for the real purpose that we were having. That it was to do a holy pilgrimage, a spiritual pilgrimage for peace. That was a huge cause that I really believe it, because I was feeling that God was putting us there. It was not only idea that came from my mind only, that we were being guided to do it. I felt that I could do the same without any shame. Mm-hmm. I could say with my head high, and to say, we are doing this, I am doing this, and I only need a place to sleep. If you can help us to fulfill this purpose that we have. And then I wanted to try this. But when I tell you that, you were a little uncertain. You remember, no? What you thought, and you told me, no?
I think my response was like, no way. No, because why would I go knocking on doors and asking for help when I could?
But I didn't tell you that you did that. I tell you that I was going to do that.
Yeah.
I was going to, you continue staying, because I thought the same that you. Why you, at least that was a calling that you felt. You stay in the hotel. You stay in the hotel. You go to your hotel, to your pension. You stay there. I go to the church. And we separate in the night when we go to the room, to the places, and we meet in the morning in the square, in the center of the square, and we continue walking. You remember? I told you,
I
don't need
remember.
to.
Yeah.
But you didn't agree. You didn't agree with that either.
And no, I did not like that plan. So I went a little bit ahead.
Why you didn't like that plan?
No, it was, there was this idea, and I will admit that it was pride. It was pride. No, that said, I don't need help.
Well, the thing not to go to the churches, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But
I understand.
I don't need help. I have the money. I can just find whatever hotel or a room to buy, and I can just go ahead and pay for that. And for me, it wasn't a big thing to say whatever the little bit extra that it required to pay for to have Alberto in the room. That wasn't a thing for me. So in the moment that it was like you need to go and knock on a door and ask for help and be at the mercy of what another person decides will be your fate for the night, where you're going to sleep. It's like, no, I did not like this idea at all, leaving my fate in the hands of someone else to decide what was going to be my experience. And on top of that, the pride of saying, well, I've got money. I don't need to ask for help. I don't need to ask. I don't need to knock on a door. And it also a little bit
You
of.
were not religious, never
No,
either
that's
before that. I
yeah.
was more close to. I had treated with the priests and nuns all my life. Then it was not something that I felt bad about it. No, but I understand that you had not that experience in your life either.
No, I did not. And so for me, and also it was for me, I'm asking for something I don't need.
Yeah.
And that's the other part. I felt like I was deceiving them. I was not telling the whole truth. And so that was probably the first place between you and I where we had to figure out how are we going to do this?
But for me, it was very clear. I told you immediately. I put in your place and I understand. I couldn't convince you. Didn't need to convince you.
No.
You don't need to do this. I'm going to do it. Because I was the fears that I didn't want that you pass for in commodities.
Yeah, discomfort.
Discomfort because I didn't have money for, that was my problem. And God was already taking care of it. I didn't need to bring you to my situation. Then I told you, we walk together all day. We walk pilgrims, walking together we arrive to the destination, the city, and in the city we find the place. You find your hotel, I find my church, and in the morning we meet again and we continue walking together. And what I thought that was a great plan where nobody lost. But you didn't like that either. You remember?
No, I did not like that either.
Especially because we put
We were both walking just as hard. Like, well, it hadn't started yet. We hadn't started walking. We hadn't started.
We tried one day.
We hadn't even started walking yet. This is just conversation. Planning. Him and I going is like, well, how is that good? Like, how am I going to in good faith and in good conscience say, okay, well, I'll just be in my nice hotel room with my hot water and comfortable bed and sheets and towels and heating while you're kind of out, I don't know, camping somewhere or maybe not finding any place to sleep. What's going to happen? How am I going to be able to sleep well or look myself in the mirror the next morning knowing that I don't know where you are, but here I am in the comforts of, this room. So there was, I felt also that little bit of, I can't do that.
But
I cannot do that.
Time, you couldn't force me to go in the way that you could. No, o sea, I had not the medios. I had not the means, but at the same time, you couldn't force me to accept your generous gift, and then it was clear that we needed to find a solution. And the first day, still we didn't know, we were trying. And you remember that you try the first day, then you say, okay, let's go to try, and I'm going with you. You remember? Let's go to try to ask for help
Well, that was after. Yeah, that was after you spent the night in that hostel.
Exactly.
We met again the next morning,
and
you told me your brilliant plan.
Because I couldn't.
You couldn't afford it.
I couldn't afford it. Yeah.
Right, and then you told me kind of what you were thinking, and you said to me, "Yeah, let's go find the priest, and let's go knock on the."
No, and you told me I'm going with you.
And I'll come with you, of course. I'm going to come with you, and let's see kind of how this is working, and kind of how you see this happening, and I'll come along. I didn't close the door, but I said this is really different for me. this is really, really different for me. So yeah, what happened when we went and found the priest?
Well, we went to this priest there was a church that was in a center square there in Rieti, I think very close to the hotel where you were. I think in the same square, and we went to this was a nice church with gardens. I remember,
Yeah.
and I thought, if they had not a room or a corridor, at least in the garden maybe we can put the tent and to sleep there. And I don't know if it was me or you, the one that talked the first time. I think it was you. I'm not sure. But we called to the door. The priest came out, and we tried to explain what happened, that we were pilgrims, what we were we were thinking to do, and we asked, please, if we could sleep there for one night, for to continue. And continue the next day, and nothing else, only a place to sleep.
And no food. We don't need
Yeah.
money. We don't need food. You don't need anything else. Just a roof over your head, essentially.
Exactly. But the priest didn't even allow us to go in. I think it was all in the door. He said, I'm sorry. He apologized, but this we cannot do this. And that. And even I told him, we had sleeping bags. We had a tent. We can sleep even in a corridor. We don't need a room. And I imagine your face was not not your favorite
No,
option.
I'm not sleeping in a corridor.
Yeah, but or even in the garden, because we had tents, but still he insisted in that was not possible. And I remember that we left that, thank you, and we went, and I was a little disappointed, but I could see too that you were angry.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed. I was angry.
You were angry, I imagine, with the priest, and you were angry with me too, because you didn't need to pass for that rejection either, because you had you didn't need it. It was more, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it was like, what? Like for me, I don't know, maybe it was like the expectation, because I thought he's a priest. It's his job to help. And so
And at the same time, why I don't need to do this?
well, on top of this idea
He's
that
going to
I don't
think-
need to do this,
He's
but
going to think that I am poor or something, that I have no means.
and that too, like again, I don't need to do this because this is not something that I need. But I think there was also this sense of this anger at, it wasn't just the rejection, it was the way that we were dismissed very quickly.
Yeah.
We weren't really heard or understood, or really I didn't feel listened to. And I just thought that he looked at us like a problem, like a couple of travelers or whatever, that just needed a place to sleep, and we weren't being taken seriously. And the anger, and also the anger at, how can you just dismiss us when it is your job? Really, this is your job to help us. That was something that there was a lot of emotions going on at the same time with that first experience, which was not a very pleasant experience. And I was thinking, if this is what it's going to be like every single night, I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't know how we're going to do
And
this.
then I told you, I remember immediately, don't worry anymore. I'm going to, this is not the place, must be another, because I'm being guided and I'm receiving signs already. I'm receiving signs because I was started to see wings of the spirit, I will say today, of God, or
the angels.
my guides, I could see, and my eyes started to see, I don't remember what was, a sign in the street or something that was pointing to some place, maybe a church or something, and I felt this is the way. Because this place maybe was not the place, there is another place expecting, and then I told you, don't worry, go to the hotel, I had your number, and I will try to call you later, when I find the place to sleep, I will call you to the number of the hotel, and I will tell you that I am okay, and tomorrow we will meet to start to walk in your hotel. I will come here to your hotel, and I will meet here. And that was the plan. But you were a little worried. But that you are receiving signs? Where? What signs? I don't see. Don't worry. And then I left you, that I saw that you were not much certain about this was the path, but I immediately went and I started to walk following the signs. That I was accustomed to follow the signs and to see then pom, pom, pom. And I remember that, I don't know if you had any thought about this moment when we separate and I...
Yeah, I wasn't. There was just a little bit of nervousness. There was just a little nervousness that it took you so much to get here.
Yeah, because
and
you
then
had
all
a
of us.
problem, no, a conflict, a problem for...
Yeah, and then and now we're about to kind of figure out how to walk together, and this is the first source of, well, where we go. I just assumed that you would have enough means
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
able to stay in a hotel, or and if you didn't, that I would just, for me it was like a supplement. It wasn't like I wasn't paying for your hotel. It was just adding a little bit more for our
Yeah.
room, and to me that wasn't as much of a deal. But
Claro.
obviously for you it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, this had been a calling. It was not a thing that I had been planning and I had all the means and all that. It was a calling that happened when you were there in Bonn. Then from one day to another, I see myself going in this journey that I didn't have idea. I never had done a thing like that.
I had.
Exactly. And I didn't know the cost or the thing. The only experience that I had was the pilgrimage to Santiago. That was beautiful and amazing, but was so much organized, and this was very, very, very different. And there we were. Then I understand that if you are working with a partner, you think that this person that is working had the means or had think a little, but for me it was all new. The only thing that I had was the total confidence that I was not walking alone, and the one that had the plan was coming with me, and he was the one that was going to develop the journey. That for me, that is the strongest gift that you can have, because all the plans of the world we know today that are more conflictive than helpful. And because the one that knows, he knows, and when you trust him, he brings you where you really need to be. Then when I lead you back, and there in the square and in the door of your hotel, after this experience in the church, and I started to walk following the signs that I could see. And the signs, maybe it's a sign, a street sign, maybe it's a cross or something that you see, or a publicity cartel, or
Like a
a poster or something, or a dog that crossing in the moment, or a bird that go in a direction, or a butterfly that fly in front of you and get for one street instead of the another, or maybe yellow flowers in one side and in the other, and that is the way that I was trusting in that I was being guided, until I don't know how I don't know if I saw a sign that was pointed to a Franciscan monastery that like that 3, 4, 5 kilometers ahead, or was somebody that I asked and told me that it was a Franciscan monastery. I need to check my diaries because I had all this written in my diaries. But in some moment I found that there was in that direction that I got, there was a Franciscan monastery. And then I started to walk, and I think that somebody told me, and I think they help pilgrims. You go, oh yeah, okay, I don't know. Then I started to walk, and it was 5 kilometers. 5 kilometers is an hour walking. If they told me no, I needed to come back because it was out of the city.
Yeah.
Then I walked 5 kilometers, and I arrived. It was a hill or a mountain, and there was a nice, beautiful monastery. And I called to the door, and a nice monk in the the robes, the habits, the Franciscan habits, opened the door with smiling. I do what a little surprise, and I was with my backpack and all that a little, and I told him that I was starting a pilgrimage from just there, from Rieti. And I told him in the way that I could, in my Spanish, English. He could understand, and he immediately, very gently, come on. And I went inside, and I met another monks there that came, and they hear the story. Oh, this is amazing! This is great! Whatever. And I had a partner, a woman that I had met in Spain, that she's walking too. That came from her, and this is. Oh, you come, and they showed me, brought me to a room.
A room.
To a room, a small room, very simple, but a room with a bed, with a sink, to a shower, and you stay here. Don't worry until tomorrow. Digo, I only need one night because our intention is to walk every day and only to sleep one night. I don't need food, but you don't need food, but you are going to have dinner with us this night. I digo, okay, thank you. And then he told me, the Franciscan monasteries had the tradition to help pilgrims. And you are going to find, always that you find a Franciscan monastery, you are going to receive help. And that opened for me the eyes, because I didn't know that at that time. Digo, oh my God, I had resolved this, at least in Italy. Digo, at least in Italy, I had the solution for this, because there is Franciscan monasteries everywhere. Then I saw for me that's an answer from God directly. That and what he told me, I'm going to take care of every need that you have. And then a little later, I think after dinner or before dinner, I called you to the hotel, and then you received your phone call. And I think you could hear the monks around me at that time.
It sounded like a party. It sounded like you guys were having a party. And like, here I am, I went back to my room, right away. And I sat and I waited, and I didn't leave because I wanted to, make sure I didn't miss your phone call. And a couple of hours later, I received the call. And like I said, it was like listening, there was like a party. And you were telling me, they've invited me to dinner.
For the first experience that they have, where somebody received me in a place for what we were doing, with our pure intentions, and they obviously they loved what we were thinking to do. That was a great first experience that confirmed all this, confirmed that I was not alone. There are people that is going to understand what we were doing, and it was beautiful. It was really a gift.
I can understand also more fully your confidence in also saying, I am a pilgrim and I am doing this as for spiritual reasons, and I am doing this as something that is going to bring a vision to the world that is going to be a benefit to the world. And of course, it's only good and natural that people are going to want to help me, that all the spiritual centers are going to want to help me, that all the monasteries, the church, everybody's going to want to support this vision, and not just, and ordinary people, of course, are going to want to support this. And this idea that I'm a pilgrim, and of course, all the spiritual places are going to support a pilgrim. See, I didn't have that, even though I knew in my heart, of course, I'm a pilgrim, but I guess I kind of left that label on the Camino. Whereas out in the world, I wanted to still be seen, like I spoke about in the last episode.
As an activist, more.
Exactly. More that somebody who had, my spiritual part was for me, and only for the people that I felt confident I could speak with and open up to safely to speak about spirituality. But while I was in the world walking, I was somebody who was doing something for peace. But I understand more, obviously more powerfully and more clearly the connection of what you're saying of course I'm a pilgrim. And we had this argument more than once later on. It's like, and you kept saying, I'm proud to be a pilgrim. I'm proud to walk in this way. It's like, well, I'm proud too, but I don't need to call myself a pilgrim. And I don't need to talk about my spiritual beliefs to everybody, but then we'll talk about that in a future episode. But what I do want to leave this specific episode with is that seeing and hearing how you were able to resolve everything, how everything was working out for you, added to my confidence as well. In addition to my own experiences and what you were experiencing, it just made me feel, okay, this is the path that we are meant to walk. We are not walking alone, because everything is being facilitated for us. Everything is being provided for us. Whatever we need, we are receiving. And so that gave me a lot of faith, your experience as well. And that night in the hotel, as you know, I was getting ready to go to bed. I received a phone call in my room again, and I thought, oh, it's probably Alberto.
Once we finished.
Obviously, we finished, and I let you go and go back to your party while I stayed and had my bread and cheese in the room. And then a couple of hours, maybe an hour or so later, I received a phone call. And that phone call was from Hannah, and she was about to drop a bomb, which we're going to have to leave without saying what it is until the next episode, because it's a good one. But if you've read the book, you know what the bomb is. But it was news.
It's a bomb that could could very easily to have finished the journey there, at least for me.
Yeah.
But we are not going to advance things.
Yeah, we will talk about that
deeply
more deeply. It's
in the
already been
next.
over an hour on
And
this.
actually, you are going to find very interesting what happened just that first day that we were going to start to walk, and the answers that I felt that God wanted, the choice that I needed to make. From that vision, from the vision of the spirit of the light, then I think you are going to find very interesting, because it's confirmation again of all this. There is a plan that is written, when we make the choice to follow the plan of God. Then.
Lovely. And so we will leave you with that. We hope that you enjoyed our little nuggets that we have left with you from our experiences, from our stories, that they have given you some things to consider, some things to contemplate, whether you're on a pilgrimage or not, whether you are on this pilgrimage called life, your everyday, where you are having to kind of trust in something that maybe you don't fully see, trust in that inner guidance, trust in that presence, trust in the love that is with you in every single moment, and to follow that, even though maybe logic and reason, the reason of the world, the logic of the world, doesn't always make sense. And so thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next time. Buen camino.
See you soon.